Welcome to I Am the Illini Pregame Live. This is Mike Kegley here with Brad Sturdy, who is in his palatial mansion. We've got Kedrick Prince, who's airborne over the top of Geese Memorial Stadium, and Matt Stevens, who is live in Indiana in enemy territory, surrounded. So, gentlemen, let's go with kind of opening comments here. Matt, set the table for us. What's the crowd like? I know it's 50 minutes before the game, but what are you seeing there? And what's the mood in Bloomington?
I'm a little irritated at this moment, even for the people in the stands, because you'll love this, Cagley. I guess we can all blame Notre Dame for a 20-minute later start time, and I don't think it really did much for the Indiana crowd either. I think they wanted to get this thing kind of started. They wanted to tap this keg at this point, and really, 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 I would say the biggest atmosphere here in Bloomington maybe ever, and obviously the biggest one I've ever seen. So that's not saying much because we knew that was going to happen. But I do think there is a palpable electricity throughout the whole stadium, and I hope it doesn't shut down everything in Indiana. So we're both of these schools are on the biggest stage in college football for the first time in God knows when, and I think it was kind of meant to be kind of a powder keg, and it's kind of the atmosphere is kind of that way.
Brad, you've been covering Illinois sports for over 20 years. A little bit of perspective. Did you think you'd ever be covering a big game between Illinois and Indiana in football?
That was not on the bingo card. I definitely expect it in basketball, but not in football. It's interesting because I think it's really cool to see this. I think it's good for the Big Ten. It shows that somebody besides Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon can win, and make a college football playoff here. That people actually care about watching, which is not something that we have seen, recently, especially from these two programs. I know Bielema has, had some turnaround, taking some time. Signetti turned Indiana around in no time at all, and made them, competitive. So it's fun. I think it's the other thing that's intriguing is that people are actually upset that the game didn't start on time when, just because they wanted it to happen, not because they want it to get over, which is the past. The past would be like, we're going to get it started so we can get it done.
So. Ked, what are your thoughts?
It's really good for Indiana and for Illinois fans, football fans. We all know there's been traditionally the rivalry has been with basketball. This is different. They're on the big stage. It's 6:30 Central Time start, and it's been talked about nationally, and people are making their picks, and now Illinois fans are kind of panicking because the spread moved a little bit. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of that has to do when the injury report came out. That there could be, but they're also going to be, who they think is going to win, and and where the money's going. But this is a big game, and I don't always live for the moment. And I will say it's a big game, but I also thought the Michigan game last year was a big game as well. I can't overlook that game, but just the situation and prime time, and and I don't know how Fox has already picked Illinois. They're gonna be down there in Champaign next week, so maybe they're predicting a win and they see a win coming. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun for all of us. And certainly, I think probably the number one thing is that the injury report did. I don't know if it caught anybody by surprise. Matt, can you kind of go over the guys on Illinois who will be out today? And like I said, I don't think there's any shocks, but still, now we know.
Shouldn't have been, because we set the table at Illini guys a couple of days ago that Xavier Scott wasn't going to be on the trip. When you go get a second opinion, I'm worried that we might have seen the last of Xavier Scott, period. So he's not here. Jakeem Clark's not here. Basically, everybody that Bielema said was kind of iffy, isn't here. And so the good news is Aiden Lawfrey's here. The good news is Dylan Rosiak's here. I'm watching them warm up right now. And so that's the good news. The bad news is you're all first team all Big Ten corner, and you're possibly all honorable mention All American corner is not here, and you thought you were going to get finally Jaheim Clark and his hamstring to make the trip, and that's not the case anymore. So your depth at cornerback is pretty hamstrung, pardon the pun, at this point. And I think that Illinois needs to figure out how to roll with what they have and maybe play a lot of their three safety look, because they're going to otherwise they're going to be relying a lot on Tanner Heckel and some guys that really haven't played a whole lot. So secondary is a concern. I don't know if it necessarily moves the line 2.5 points, but secondary is a concern. And then I do think that Illinois really needs to run the football, and if you're really going to need to run the football, I think having Aiden Lofrey back really helps that cause immensely. And having a healthy Khalil Valentine. So there's good news, bad news on the injury report, but I don't think anybody should be shocked, because I don't know if we're ever going to see Xavier Scott again in 2025. And if that's the case, then we knew he wasn't going to make the trip this weekend.
Yeah, so just for those people who would want to know at home, number 4, Daniel Brown out. Number 6, Jaheim Clark. Number 14, Xavier Scott. Number 16, Logan Farrell. Number 20, John Forster. Number 21, Ben Clausen. Number 32, Taiwan Cox. Number 56, J.J. Hurtis. And the number 72, Aiden Napick. And 84, Grant Smith. And 88, Christian Abney. So a little bit of a list. Now, conversely, Indiana has Byron Baldwin Jr., number 2, out. Bryson Bonds, number 24. And one of their three-headed monster running backs, Lee Beebe Jr., number 29, is out this week. Brad, when you see those type of injuries and you look at how Mendez seems to do or Mendoza does a lot better against he seems to do better when he can kind of get back there and pick people apart. Does this make the pass rush really they just have to have one today?
Well, I think that's always true. I mean, you have to put pressure on the quarterback, or these guys can all pick you apart now. I mean, but we've seen them do some good things. I mean, defensively with putting pressure, I thought they did a good job in this, especially in the second half against Duke. And there are two things it can lead to. It can lead to getting stops, but it can also lead to turnovers, and that's what's kind of been their strength, is forcing some turnovers. It's giving them short fields, and also stop some drives. So those are the kind of things that you want to do. I think Matt's point about running the football is really important, because these guys are it's so important for Illinois to run the football and control this and keep this Indiana offense on the sideline. And also running the football is going to slow down that Indiana pass rush coming at Luke Altmaier. And you have to, if you can run the football and make it hard on them and force them into blitzing to create, pressure. If they can rush forward and create pressure, it's going to be a long night and stop the run. So that's not great. But I think that they're going to find a way to do that and run the football. And I think there's going to be points put up in this game. I really like the offense. I'm picking the over, baby.
Well, I'll tell you.
Any of your thoughts on the offenses tonight?
Yeah, not so much offense. I kind of agree with Matt. The secondary was a concern for me going into the game. Just, even with the secondary being healthy. Indiana is a really good passing team, also a good, running team. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I do mean it. I think running the football may be the key, is if you keep the ball out of their hands. If they can't get pressure up front, and if you can't get picks, and you're going to get burnt, and if they throw the ball across the middle of the field like they've done. I've watched a number of their games this year, and they throw the ball across the field a lot. You got to keep the ball. You got to keep them off the field, and that means Illinois has on offense. They have to avoid third and longs. And I hope to see Caden Fagan be physical, because then it makes it easier for Valentine to be able to be shifty and to give them a different look. And offensively, I've said it, and we probably all talked about this at different interviews that we've had throughout the week. They have to protect Luke Altmaier. I can assure you, Indiana's going to look at game film. Everybody's done it to them, and they're going to have to prove tonight that they can protect Luke a little bit better than what they have.
Speaking of Luke Altmaier, have you guys ever seen a quarterback matchup where the numbers were so close? Luke Altmaier has 709 yards passing this year. Fernando Mendoza has 708. Luke has 8 touchdown passes. Mendoza has 9. They both have no interceptions. I mean, these guys even have, roughly similar splits, and, their completion percentages aren't far off. What is it going to take for Illinois to win? How is Luke Altmaier need to go another game with no interceptions when you go out on the road and you're in a hostile stadium? And I'm assuming that Signetti has got his guys jacked up, because this has to be a redemption game for them, because nobody believes their CFP is real, and they seem to be. They want to prove, we had an SEC schedule, and now we want to prove we can beat somebody good. Brad, any thought on that?
Sorry, turn my mic off for a second there. I mean, expectations are, this is living up to those, right? You are in I think that it's awesome for both these teams. Let's be honest. I mean, Indiana had the great year last year, but this year they've beaten, Old Dominion's evidently they're touting as a really big win. But I mean, these teams have something to prove, and I know they've been good the last 2 years. They have something to prove. Now it's your opportunity. Go out and do it. And one of these teams is going to come out of this smelling like a rose and looking like they're a college football playoff team. One of the teams coming out of this is probably going to, everybody's, all their fans are going to be jumping off the ledge and deciding that it's the end of the season and they're never going to win another game again. So it is what it is.
So, Brad, do you think we're going to be, are we in 3 and 4 short hours from now, are we going to be panicked?
I'm not, because I'm here's the thing. I feel really confident in the fact that they have a legit football program now in Illinois. And if that means 8 wins, 9 wins, then that doesn't panic me. That means they're competitive. They're having a chance. If it means, if they lose if they finish 3 and 9, then that might be different. So, but that might have a different. But it sounds like, and I tweeted this, but the kickoff at 6:50 also is going to be on Peacock. So if you're watching at home, watch it on Peacock to start, and then you can watch the rest. It'll eventually switch over to NBC. Evidently, some of the local affiliates may be able to switch. They get a choice, but that's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Matt, you kind of rolled your eyes a little bit, but when I look in the press, we hear people say, well, Illinois, all they did was beat a South Carolina team that didn't have a bunch of players, which I don't know that a bunch was quite a fair assessment. And then Indiana went to the CFP and got beat.
Yeah, I think you have 2 coaches on either sideline that could give a rat's ass what you just said, Mike Cagley. Like, honest to God, like, we have 2 coaches in this league that honestly, like, are 2 of the biggest antagonists in the league. And if you have any form of media next to you, like, they could give a rat's ass what you think. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm just being real. Like, you talked to Signetti. I was there when Signetti was asked about his schedule. It wasn't like he wanted to strangle the reporter. It was like, I don't really understand why the hell you're asking me this. Like, I get to make my schedule, the end. Like, deal with it. Like, Signetti's attitude the whole time is like, deal with it. Like, if you don't like me, deal with it. Like, I've already seen like 8 SIG shirts, like, as I've walked to the stadium, like, in the Marlboro logo. Like, I mean, he's made for this place. And Bielema was made for Illinois because, like, again, like, he has the ability to, I mean, we've all seen it. Like, the whole thing of, like, I appreciate the question. Like, we've all heard that from Bielema. News for what the translation is for that. Like,
see, I can't figure out, Matt. I can't figure out whether these 2 guys are going to antagonize one another or hug at midfield and proclaim each other their brother, because
I think they get along. Honestly, I think they get. No, I think they get along. Honestly, I think Bielema has like, Sig's a former Saban guy. Like, I mean, Bielema's got his bona fides with a lot of different coaches, including Hayden Fry and Bill Snyder. Like, there's a lot of respect there. And then there's the way they both kind of carry themselves with kind of like that swashbuckling kind of nature. I think they both get. I mean, they both get it and they understand. But yeah, I think I just don't think that Indiana's trying to prove anything to anybody. Like, because I don't think their head coach gives a hoot. And I don't think Illinois is really trying to, like, prove anything to anybody, because I don't think their head coach gives a hoot. Like, so And I think that a lot of what I just said is why both of these teams are 3-0, and why both of these teams are ranked in the top 20. They have that mentality in them, and I do think that they're both cut in the same cloth. I do think. I think one of the interesting things about this game is that, like, if Illinois wanted to, like, be able to scout Indiana, they just hold up a mirror and go, okay, well, that's who Indiana is, because the idea that both these teams kind of what they run and what they try to do philosophically is so similar. I feel like is like Illinois knows what Indiana wants to do, and Indiana knows the exact same thing. Like, and it's I do think that the three Bielema principles are going to come up huge tonight. Run the ball, stop the run, cover kicks. It gets mixed up into how good of a year Curtis Rourke had last year when he was healthy for Indiana. But Signetti wants to run it down your butt. Like, and we all know Bielema does. Like, so I do think the physicality is going to show tonight. I do think the offensive line play is going to show tonight. And I think those are two huge keys as to, like, the line of scrimmage is going to be a huge key. You're going to be able to tell physically who won the football game with the sound off. Like, you're going to be able to do that. So I just feel like both of these teams play so similarly that there's an appreciation on both sides about the way they play.
So, Kat, as you're watching up there, what are you looking for as the keys to the game?
My keys, honestly, and just what Matt said, and the offensive line to me is huge. I mean, Luke has been sacked 8 times this year. I think he's missed some throws this year that he would like to have had back. He's said that in a number of press conferences. I just wish he'd have time, and I hope he stays healthy. I want to see guys make plays down the field. But the offensive line to me is probably the most important thing. But then also, we can be analytical and coaches. Yeah, we want a couple of turnovers and a pick six would be nice. And I really want to see Hank Beatty show out how good he is. And I do think they're going to have some other receivers step up, because Indiana's going to know, like Pat Bryant was last year, when it's go to who they're going to throw the ball to. So another receiver stepping up. No, I'm not talking about Malik Elzy. I'm just saying in general, because I don't know what he'll do tonight. But just the offensive line to me is huge. And I really want to see the running backs run the ball effectively and keep Indiana's offense off the field.
Yep. One quick thing, as we kind of go around the Big Ten, Brad, you saw Michigan really go into a very hostile Nebraska crowd and, do a great job of getting the victory. Any thoughts on what that means this season? I mean, I think Matt Rule did not want to start his third year, which are usually his pivotal years. He didn't want to start with a loss in his first game in the Big Ten, but I didn't know if you took any conclusions from that game. I thought Underwood got results. He may not have played the best.
Yeah, it was. I think that's a good, really big win for Michigan, because it keeps them in the hunt for things down the road. And the other side is that for Nebraska, they have lost. What did I read? Like, they've lost like some ungodly number of games in a row against ranked opponents. They just find a way to lose to ranked opponents. I don't know. It's very interesting to see this, but I think it's a really good win for Michigan. It makes the Wolverines, kind of solidifies them as a legit, top 25 team, and they got a lot of options in front of them. Let's think about it. They have. They get to, the last game of the year. I mean, and that's a game that they seem to win every year. So at least for the recent history. So you win that one and you're doing well. I think, we talk about keys to the game, offensive line, they all mentioned. I think it's going to come down to who makes offensive line, but I think it's who's going to make a play. Ked mentioned a pick six. That would be one example, a punt return for a touchdown. A long run, for a touchdown, a deep pass for a touchdown, something like that, a fumble, forced fumble, something. I think those are going to be the keys. Who makes a big play, whether it's it's your offense or defense, but who's going to make the big plays in this game? And I think at the end of the day, those teams, the team that makes the most big plays is going to win and has the most explosive plays. And, and that's the way I kind of look at this one, because they're both going to try and, they're going to, like they said, Matt mentioned, he's right. Indiana runs for over 300 yards a game. They want to run the football. Illinois loves to run the football. Haven't been very successful at it thus far, but that's the way they want to play. And we've seen them kind of wear teams down, though. And in this late in the game, They've been much more successful running the football. By
Now,
the way, you talk about other games. How about this one? Western Michigan beat Toledo. It's the first time Toledo's lost their MAC opener in like 17 or 18 years or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
and we said Western Michigan was a very good team.
well, their defense, yeah, and it was 14-13. So defensively, they in the MAC where teams score like 1,000 points a game. So
yeah, and that team may end up winning the MAC. You never know. What's the risk factor you guys have? For me, the nightmare is that Illinois has a rough first quarter or even first half. I think you can overcome that with other teams. I'm not certain Illinois can overcome that if they have it happen tonight.
They can't. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, we can all talk about Indiana's schedule and how soft it was, but the bottom line is they put up good numbers. Illinois played Western Michigan. I know Brad mentioned that they beat Toledo, but Illinois should have just dominated. It was a lackluster first half performance. So to me, I'm not using that as an excuse. I think they're a good team, and I think at the end it's going to be tough because both teams have tough games. When I believe Indiana goes to Iowa and Oregon next, so their schedule's not easy either. So either team loses the game tonight, it's going to be tough for them to recover. I will say that, but at the end of the day, Illinois is going to have to seriously keep them off the field because Indiana's going to score some points. They just are.
Yeah, Kat, I wanted to ask you, how did Iowa fans take that victory over Rutgers? Because early on there, I kind of felt like Rutgers maybe left some points on the table, but outplayed Iowa in the first half. And then the Hawkeyes just came on like gangbusters in the fourth quarter.
Iowa's starting to look like they're trying to put some points on the board. I like how they threw the ball last night. Rutgers isn't a bad team. When you look at them years ago, they weren't that good. But you can see them getting better and better. Even the basketball program, they're getting better recruits. So, they're not a walkover any stretch of the imagination. But it's a road win. And you got to look at that as 2 points and, versus one, a home win. But I give them credit for that.
Yeah, no. And of course, I think, I don't know, Wisconsin, they could lose the rest of their games from now on. I mean, you look at that schedule, that's probably one of the top 5 schedules in the country in terms of difficulty levels. And Luke Fickell just seems to have lost a year by going with Longo as his offensive coordinator, and that seems to have really thrown him off. That's something I think that is a challenge. Now, talking about a prediction for the game, I'm gonna copy here. Nathan Durst says that Fagan will have a big day, regardless of how you spell his name. But I'm thinking I feel a Hank Beatty special teams touchdown. I'm not certain if it hasn't crystallized in my mind yet if it's going to be a punt return or a kickoff return. But I think he's going to score. Brad, you got any? Do you have any predictions for the game here as to what you might see coming on?
Well, I don't know. Predictions are, that's the thing. I don't know what's going to happen prediction wise, but here's what I'll say. I think that I do think that Illinois is going to have to throw the ball to set up the run because I don't think they're just going to be able to run down the throats. So I think they're going to have to attack deep down the field a little bit early, with some or use the tight end, whatever it is, to get some plays.
Use the what?
There's this guy who lines up just outside the tackle on offense.
Yeah, the extra blocker guy.
Yeah, the extra blocker.
You can throw to him?
You can throw to that guy, and he can catch the ball. And it doesn't just have to be in the red zone. You can actually throw to him it's a new rule that they just passed. But I think using those guys and setting up, I think then you run the football because they haven't been successful just getting push right out of the gate offensively, even though that was what we expected. They haven't been successful in that. The other thing I think, and we may see some changes, it seems like when they run, if you're running Lawfrey, you're running Valentine, they're more shifty. You can run those delays, different things. With Fagan, I feel like just let him get going downhill. Weren't we talking the other day, Mike, about Earl Campbell?
Yeah.
Right. Just let him go. Like you want to let him get a head of steam going. And even if there's a guy there, he can move that guy. And after contact, he's going to get a couple of yards because he's got that going forward. So I just hate when he's stationary when he gets the ball. I don't know.
Let's face the other thing, Brad, is once a guy like Fagan hits you, that next time he comes running at you, you're not nearly so eager to fill that hole.
Exactly. I'm all for. I don't want to get hit again by him.
Now, folks, for people who, when Brad said he's a little concerned on predictions, for those of you who watched or listened to the Illini Guys Sports Spectacular, his faith has been shaken because he and I had perfect alignment in our picks. Now he's worried he's never going to get a game right again.
There's something. I mean, I'm usually like really good at that, and now I feel like I'm terrible just because I picked with Mike for 1 week.
Ked, you got any fearless predictions for tonight?
Well, I'm sure you saw our prediction with our group there. I was probably the stupid guy because I predicted an Indiana win and by more than a touchdown. And the reason I did, I'm gonna tell you right now, is because Scott's out. A lot of people. My son is really mad at me. Dad, you're crazy. They're on the road, and I don't care. Illinois been tested. They're not going to get rattled. They went to Oregon. They're not going to be rattled. That's the least of my concerns. But I just think Indiana passes the ball so well, and there's a reason that Scott starts. There's a reason that he could potentially be an All-American. Losing that, Indiana's going to exploit that. So I would love to see Illinois win, and I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong, and I will tell you this though. I would really like.
Stop being that guy, Ked. Don't be. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
But I do. But anyway, here's my other point. Keep the game close in the first half, and then do something that you haven't done all year in the second half, so Indiana cannot prepare for it in the locker room at half. That's what I think is huge for me.
And Fedigator has being the one we actually talked about this earlier. Brad did say the game's going to kick off at 6:50, and it will be on Peacock for those people who are forced to watch the end of the Notre Dame game. And yes, Fedigator, I agree with you 100%. Freaking Notre Dame is probably the nicest thing that I'll have to say about Notre Dame. So I agree with you totally. But yes, it'll be a 6:50 kickoff. So folks, you're stuck with us for another 22 minutes, but you will be ready for the game, you may be ready for the game, not preparation, just tired of us. But nonetheless, we will be here for that time to try to get you up and ready to go. And we did hear that Coach Bielema has talked about having a very good practice on Thursday. He talked about that earlier this week. Brad, the question I have for you, and you brought this up after each of the games, is that Illinois has managed to win 3 games, look pretty impressive, and play about as vanilla of an offense and defense as you can. Now, you've coached for years. You've got state titles and all that. How important is it to come into a game like this without really showing anything of any value to your opponent?
Well, I think it's huge because you realize that, these guys are so well scouted now. You've seen film, you've watched everything, and you're going to pull out tendencies and different things. But at the end of the day, you haven't shown anything. The only thing they've shown really was Hank Beatty and the Wildcat. That was really like and maybe there was one other play, but most of the time it's just been pretty much straight up. We're going to line up and we're going to play you. I think you'll see some different variations. I think you'll see some different formations, different looks. I would not be shocked to see Beatty in the Wildcat more today, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him throw it out of the Wildcat too. Something a little different, right? So these are all things that Illinois hasn't done anything. Their blitz packages have been very vanilla, even when they've done that. It's just standard stuff, and so I'm excited to see what they do, and hopefully, but on the other side of it, neither is Indiana, right? They haven't shown much either.
Yeah, they just handed off the ball and ran people.
Yeah,
over.
They just run over 300, and then they throw it just so their quarterback gets some practice. That's all they've done. But yeah, I would say that you're going to see a little bit more, and I'm excited for that because I thought when the game at Duke was close at halftime, I thought Illinois opened it up just a little bit in that second half, and you saw Barry Lenny call a fantastic game, I thought, in the second half of that Duke game, and they were just dominant offensively. So yeah, that's what I'd like to see again, maybe for a whole 4 quarters. What the heck?
Ked, what do you like? What would you want to see out of the offense?
This is the most stupidest answer ever. Win the game. I don't care if it's by 1 point. Just win the game. So, but I would yes about offense. I'll tell you what. I want to see Aaron Henry. I think Illinois is only giving up 7 points a game. 10 or 12 would be great. The first drive, Illinois, they always struggle, but after the second and third series, they are just pretty nice. And so I want to continue to see him do that. He's evolving with guys right before our eyes. I think this is his third year as a head defensive coordinator. He's getting better. Illinois is competitive and on the defensive end, and I know they're battling injuries, so I'm kind of curious to see what they'll do with that.
Yeah, and I thought he had the funniest line when he talked about Tanner Heckle yesterday. I'm sorry, but Aaron Henry could be a comedian, because if you haven't watched that, go to IlliniGuys.com during a commercial break and watch Aaron Henry talk about Tanner Heckle. If you're not laughing, you don't have a sense of humor. That's all I can say about that. I'll tell you what I want to see, because Illinois, I would like them to see the no huddle, which allows no substitutions, and just see them take they really play well both this year and even last year when they do that. And I'd like to see them jump into that occasionally where they can do it. Folks, as we're going on this, one of the things I wanted to tell you, there's well over 1,000 people who are on here right now watching this through various ways. If you're not a subscriber to IlliniGuys.com, it's worth thinking about. It's only $99 a year. You get all of our articles, even the ones that are behind the paywall. But there's two things that you get that you can't get anywhere else. One is the game room, where members go in and they watch the game, and it's like a continuous chat, and people get excited, angry in the moment. It's usually a lot of fun.
Everyone is really level-headed in the game room.
Yeah, they're always level-headed. A 7-point lead can look like the potential end of World War II with the Germans winning. So you never know exactly what direction that's going to go. And we have message boards where you can go in and you can talk to Brad, Ked, myself, thousands of other Illini fans across the world. And we even have some of the guys of the past, Illini legends, who every once in a while pop up on there, like David Williams, guys like that, and different guys, Jonathan Kerr, other people that we're going to have put out there. And so we would love to have you guys come on board. You get a chance to talk to. It makes it a two-way street versus just reading or listening to us. You can say, "Hey, Brad, what did you mean about this?" Or "How afraid were you that your prognostication skills died because you had the same picks as Mike?" You can ask those questions and get answers, and basically, that's the interactive part of it. So please take a look at that. And of course, if you can share our stuff, that is a huge thing for us, whether you're on X, whether you're on Facebook, whatever your social media is, that helps us. And if you can smash the like button and follow us, that is awesome as well. So, Brad, you're going into this game, you're kicking off a few minutes late. You're Brett Bielema. What are you telling your team right now as they're trying to focus on winning this game?
Well, I mean, it's all about execution. I mean, that's all you got to focus on. You got to stay in the moment. Things are going to happen that are bad. Things are going to happen that are good. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Stay in the moment and execute. And if they do that, they're going to have a chance to win the game. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, and football's an energy game, so you want to have that positive energy. You want to be fired up. I get all that, but you can't think you won if you score first, and you can't think you lost if they score first. So there's all those things. You just got to stay in the moment and make the next play, because the most important play is always the next play. And all my softball girls are going, he always says that. So anyway, but no, so you gotta, but this is it. I mean, that's the mindset you have to have. And I think Bielema has the right thing. These guys they love this. Great athletes love this game. Like, they love playing in front of big crowds. They love playing on the road in a tough environment. They want to have thousands of people heckling them, yelling at them, and all that stuff. It just motivates you. It's great. I mean, that's what great players want.
Yeah, best part of my high school career was I was a nobody, but playing Muhammad Seymour against Monticello, and we were out there on the opening kickoff, and I was on right in front of their sidelines, and they were chanting I sucked, and I was so happy that they knew that They at least knew who
They
I
knew.
was.
I
was like,
suck, but they know me. They know who I am.
They are chanting the truth, but they know who I am. So you gotta, anything, you always have to take the silver lining out of any situation. So I was so happy with that. Ked, you've obviously coached, you run a massive AAU organization over the years. What are you telling your kids when they're going into the Lions Den against another team that wants to prove who the boss is?
Be who you are. You're going to take Indiana's best hit. You're going to get that. You're older. You're a veteran. You're veterans. You've been around for a while. Be smart. And the one I think is huge. I send it to our group text. Value the ball. Don't turn the ball over. And the one thing I don't want to see Illinois do tonight, and I would tell my team this, to avoid the stupid penalties. The guy's out of bounds, don't shove a guy just to get an extra 15 yards. Avoid the face mask penalties if you could, because those are momentum changers. And truth be told, go back to the Duke game a couple weeks ago when Duke had the guy out there with the same uniform number. That changed the whole momentum of the game. And they gave Illinois the ball back, which they scored on. So you want to avoid stupid turnovers. You take care of the ball, whether you're throwing it or you're running the football. I think that's huge. And again, live for the moment, like Brad mentioned, but also know that the crowd's going to be loud. But they've been there. I mean, there's 16 returners that came back. You got transfers from the transfer portal from Wisconsin and from Western Michigan. So they'll be fine. Virginia Tech. So bottom line is this: value the ball, do what you do best, and don't speed up.
Yeah, and I always thought the one thing that I learned over the years and when I coached my teams was, regardless of who you play and regardless of how good they are, a lot of times people say, well, will you win or will you lose? And you say, yeah, I will, or we're going to win, or I don't think we're going to win. Usually you're right. So we always found the way to do that, and our coach used to tell us this all the time. He would just say, always think in terms of winning. And he would repeat that about 10 times, getting louder each time. And the funny thing is you go through life, you get into weird, crazy situations on the job or, in your life. I always think about, well, that coach helped me think about how we're going to win. So, I do think that attitude, and I think Bielema, the amount that he cares for his players also makes a big deal. Now, Brad, I think Nathan Durst did ask the question that, there's a lot of angst. There's a lot of nerves, people who are really being torn right now. Who's Luke Goody rooting for, Brad? In your heart of hearts,
I was cracking up when I saw that. I was texting you guys.
No, Nathan brings this up because, when Luke has to go back and train after he's done, he doesn't go to Indiana, Hoosier fans. He goes to Illinois. That's a longer trip. You got to drive, and you just kind of wave the exit, you go down to Bloomington and you go to Champaign. So, Brad, where do we think Luke Goody is on that? And, Ked, maybe you can text him and get an answer from him.
No, because I want to comment because I have talked to Luke since the season's been over. So, Brad, you go first.
Go ahead, Ked. You can chime in on this one.
Yeah.
I was just, I was more concerned about whether he was rooting for Lesnar or Cena. I mean, the important stuff.
Which Cena, though, John or Ron? Oh, that's right. You don't watch wrestling, so you wouldn't even know what that pertains to.
I know Lesnar just did 6 F5s on Cena.
Yeah.
So,
in all seriousness, I think Luke is rooting for Illinois. I remember when they played in basketball, and I think it was that fiasco that happened where they think he intentionally grabbed Thomas Law. I texted him. We were texting. He felt really bad about that. He made the comment to me. He said, "Kid, I was there 4 years. What are these people from Illinois thinking? I'm playing against my coach, the guy that gave me a scholarship. They're my brothers, and he loves the coaching staff. He spent 1 year at Indiana. Yes, he's an Indiana kid. And when he committed to Illinois, I talked to that kid tons of times, and I'm sure you did too. He was upset that Indiana and Purdue didn't really pursue him. Indiana was a good fit for him for 9 months. But he's an Indiana kid, but I'm going to tell you, his heart bleeds orange and blue. He felt so bad about that, and he still, and his exact words to me were, he still watches. He watched Illinois when Indiana wasn't playing, when they weren't practicing. texting the coaches. There's no bad blood there. I can assure you he is rooting for Illinois deep down inside.
Well, that is good. Brad, was that what you were going to say?
I was assuming Illinois.
Yeah.
Luke has some long-term. Obviously, he grew up an Indiana fan, but those are guys that he's worked out with. He's known all these football players while he was at Illinois. He spent a lot of time with them, and it's just there's a connection there. Luke's, and I know a lot of people think, because he left and went to Indiana, somehow he's a bad guy or whatever. Luke's an awesome dude. Good kid.
Luke's a great guy. That's why we're having fun with this.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, he's really good. It's great to interview over the years, and it's cool to see. I love seeing all these guys come back to the basketball program. Is that not awesome? Come back to work out, scrimmage a little bit, shoot around, do some workout in with Fletch. Fletch is always the one posting those workouts, whether it's Luke or Io or whoever, Marcus Damask, et cetera, all those guys over the years that still come back.
Yep. So as we get close to game time here, we're gonna go, Brad. How do you see this game going, and what is your prediction on this?
Well, I think there's going to be some tumultuous times. I think there's going to be some Indiana's going to make a few plays in the passing game and running. They're going to set it up at the run, and they're going to be able to throw the ball because I think Illinois doesn't have this. Now, the other thing I'd love, and I was talking to someone, I think you'll see Indiana will see a different defense than they have because Illinois, and I hope they stick with it. They play a lot of man coverage behind, and allows them to play a little different. Indiana's seen they like to attack the zone defenses a little bit better. And create openings that way and confusion with a lot of their movement and stuff. So that'll be interesting. But I think they will get a big play, and it's going to be highs and lows. But I think Illinois comes down. They get the veteran quarterback, makes plays. They get the game-winning drive. David Alano hits about a 60-yard field goal to win it, 31-30. Illini win. By the Alano, I was just told Alano hit one 60 from 63 in warmups.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. I think that's good. So you only got to get to like the 45-yard line and let him go. David Alano hits the winning field goal, and Illinois drives back from Bloomington, and they're happy.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the last possession for the Illini, and I think Cool Hand Luke will be the difference in the game going down the stretch, and I think that will make whether it sets up the final field goal for Alano to be the hero, or whether Luke pulls the trigger. And we have to think about, remember, Jack Trudeau playing so well down the stretch, which gave Thomas Rooks the opening for that touchdown run. So it's, but I think the quarterback play of Luke Altmaier will be critical deep in the into the fourth quarter. I would love it. I would love it to be 35-3 at the half. I just don't see that type of game. I think these are both two pretty good teams, and all humor aside. I always want to address Meow Peep whenever I can. But yes, we love getting on before the game. We thought this was a good idea. We won't be able to do it every game, and it is easier for us to do it when Illinois is on the road. But we love to be a place that Illini fans can go to watch this. You'll see us at the half. So remember, folks, at the half. And then tonight we will be on the Illini Guys channel, YouTube channel tonight. We are also doing a co-branding thing with STL Sports Central, but unfortunately we're fighting against the Missouri guys, and we'd rather just be where we don't have to worry about flipping it. And one of my the Ohio State boosters has come in and wishing us good luck. He's very confident in the Illini over him. I'm hoping that since he's an Ohio State booster, he recognizes good football and he's picked Illinois over Indiana. I'm hoping that there's some sort of mojo there going on, because I don't think the Buckeyes. I'd love to see two undefeated teams coming into that Ohio State game. Brad, any thoughts as we wrap down here, pretty close to the to game time? Anything that's come to mind, or anything we haven't talked about yet?
I think we've covered everything, even professional wrestling. So there's not much less to cover. It's time to see them play. Kickoff coming in a few minutes. Let's go.
Ked?
Me, I'm glad you asked. I hope, because I think Brad mentioned it, I don't want to see a zone. I don't want to see Illinois go to a zone at all and they've done that a little bit more this year than they have in the past. I think that could be a problem for Illinois. So that's one thing I didn't mention earlier. Don't want to see them go to the zone. There's nothing else we can say. It's game time. Go grab your beverage and get ready. And I'll end with this. Illinois football is relevant. They're live and they matter. And this, regardless if they win or lose, season's not over.
Yeah. No, I agree, and we will.
Crazy talk, kid. Crazy talk. If they lose, season's over. Cut it. Shut it down. It's all over. You got to win.
Here's the crazy thing, folks. Is our numbers for these podcasts double when Illinois loses. And we much rather have Illinois win, but then people are like, hey, Illinois won, and they move on to the next thing.
They're out celebrating.
Yeah, but if they lose, then we hear about it.
They come to us and they drink while they're complaining. So it's great.
Yes. That's where after an Illinois loss is when it is a classic time to become an Illini Guys subscriber, because you get in on the message boards and then you're like, whoa, I can't believe people type that. But yeah, that's we're definitely hoping. Yeah. Meow piece. He's just flipped. If Illinois loses, he's firing Bielema. But
Clemson may be open. Who knows?
Yeah. I tell you what, Dabo's getting angry. Although you look at his overall record and you're like,
it's still insane. But just because. But he's raised the bar. If you don't win 10 games, you had a bad year. So that makes it tough. Although I'm sure right now they're thinking, Dabo Swinney, Alabama.
Well, I was going to say because then he would have the portal and it wouldn't matter what he thought. And you got to think about Kalen DeBoers. If he would have just stayed at Washington.
Oh yeah,
that Washington wouldn't have lost the 500 players they lost last year. Would have been good. Oh, there's Kennedy. Hey, Kennedy. But we wouldn't. And you got to wonder. He has to be thinking. I could have just stayed there, and I'd have been a legend. And now I'm going to get fired or run out of town on a rail. Oh, the choices we make in life.
All right, guys, I'm going to go play that piano behind me and get ready for the game.
Yep. And folks, we are up to 1 minute here. And again, as Brad reported, because Brad can report on the world of TV, but you go to Peacock, that way you won't have to watch the last 9 or 8 or whatever minutes of the Notre Dame game, and you'll be able to catch everything Illini related. It should be there. They should be joining any minute now. We are going to back out of
Mike. They just announced that they're going to start it at NBC now.
Oh, great! So there we go.
Look at this. Brad is move the Notre Dame. I got it changed to NBC on most stations.
There we are. So Brad has basically become an entertainment reporter for us. We appreciate him and his link to the network headquarters. But we will be back at halftime.
I've been watching the morning show and I made some connections. So there you go.
Exactly. So we'll be back at halftime, and then you can tune us in after the game. Halftime will be myself and Ked and Illini legend Jonathan Kerr, offensive lineman extraordinaire. So we will be back at the half. Thank you so much for joining us. And until we get back, go Illini.